I've seen and had some conversations regarding The Green Knight, and sometimes what I've come across is that the movie didn't make sense, or that it didn't have a point, which in turn makes that person really dislike the movie. I happen to have absolutely loved the story, and I wanted to provide some explanation to the meanings in the hopes that maybe, just maybe, it will help some of you to see the story in maybe just a little bit of a different light. Now, I don't pretend to be the end-all authority on this, so if there's something I've missed or gotten wrong, please let me know in the comments. I also really want to hear your interpretation of the story because through the discussion, I'm going to get an even greater appreciation for the movie. Obviously, this is going to contain a ton of spoilers for the movie, so if you're just looking for a review, I've linked my spoiler-free review in the description below and up in the corner. So the main theme for the story is the pursuit of honor. We also get to see a ton of opportunities for character growth in Gawain. As a simple story setup, Gawain tells Arthur that he has no tale to tell about himself. He's never been on a journey, so when the Green Knight appears on Christmas Day, the start of Gawain's tale can begin. We learn that he chases honor because he believes that that is the greatest trait of a knight, but he isn't one yet. Before his quest, we see that Gawain isn't necessarily a man who even displays honor. He's almost perpetually drunk, and while it looks like he's faithful to Essel, he'll never call her his lady. This is illustrated both at the beginning and end of the film. She's good enough to have sex with, but not good enough to be seen with outside the brothel, especially once he becomes a knight. Gawain's initial trek down the long road outside the castle shows us a man all alone. He's a bit despondent and weary of what's to come. While it's not made clear if he truly remembers that he'll be dealt the same blow he gave the Green Knight, he doesn't look terribly happy to go on his journey, even though he knows it's the honorable thing to do. Next is his encounter with the thieves in the forest. Gawain is noble, or at least he pretends to be, but he also sees himself up as higher on the rung of status than Barry Cowan's thief. Gawain doesn't even want to give him a coin for the directions, as if the thanks are enough to helping him find his way. Then when he's bound and they steal his stuff, Gawain shows how actually powerless he is. He's not a knight. He doesn't fight with ferocity. Instead, he's overtaken by 3 kids and was unsuspecting at the dangers they even possessed. His naivete and lack of experience in the world show how unprepared he is and point to how he needs to grow if he really does want to become a knight. When Gawain comes across the abandoned cabin, he's desperate for sleep. He's obviously exhausted, but in this instance, he gets to display honor and chivalry. When he sees Winifred, he is instantly ready to leave, apologetic that he could have offended her, and he knows it's not proper for him to be there. So, to protect her honor, he's ready to leave. It's very fitting that Winifred has lost her head because that's exactly what happened to the Green Knight, and is what awaits Gawain. When she asks him to retrieve her head, he has the choice then to embrace the task or flee. Here, despite his fear, he dives down into the depths of the lake to find her head. As he does this, he shows that he can be honorable and chivalrous, even though later on, this quality is going to come into question. I find it very interesting that after he leaves Winifred, he encounters the fox, who has that same striking red fur as Winifred's hair. I think perhaps Winifred takes on this form to then help or accompany Gawain on the remainder of his journey as a reward for his help. Gawain then encounters a traveling group of giants, and these giants show his inner insecurities. He is small, tiny, insignificant. They're traveling together somewhere, and they're a group tied together by some unknown but common purpose. When the fox howls, they acknowledge him and respond. He finally feels seen, but that still underscores what little he's done in his life. Now, somebody in the comments of my review asked if the giant was Alicia Vikander, and while I'm not sure, I really can see this as a possibility. It makes sense that Gawain would see her because he is in conflict with his feelings for her, knowing that he's going to toss her aside when he becomes a knight. When Gawain arrives at the manor of the Lord and the Lady, he is in a tough spot, and their generosity and enthusiasm to see him obviously makes him a little weary, but he also accepts their hospitality. Joel Edgerton is a human embodiment of the Green Knight. We see his face morph in and out towards the end in the Green Chapel. And as the Lord, he's testing Gawain. We see Gawain's inner fight with honor when he looks longingly at the lady. Now obviously, it's Alicia Vikander who also plays Essel, but here she is a real test of his chivalry and honor. She's in the possession of his belt, which is his ultimate protection, but she also possesses beauty and temptation for Gawain. She knowingly tempts him, and during these moments, Gawain has to really choose honor or desire. We see how great the temptation is, and that Gawain really only maintains honor in the strictest of senses because he doesn't actually have sex with the lady. His passions do get the better of him, as evidenced by what is deposited on the belt and the lady's hand. She then delivers the piercing blow to his character by saying he is no knight. Now that could have had a double meaning. One is being that his stamina is not what she expects, but I think it more points to his failure of the test to break away from her as he is tempted. He could have gotten up, pushed her away, left the room, but he gives in to his passions, at least partly. This is even more poignant when we take into account the conversation Gawain has with the Lord about honor and how that is what he really wants. Gawain wants to become a knight, and to do so is going to require and give him honor. I think that the axe is returned to him as his reward for at least partially passing the test. It belongs to the Green Knight, and because the Lord is the human embodiment of him, the axe is able to be retrieved from the thieves. And it doesn't matter if it's magically taken or by force, the axe is returned to both people, the caretaker, Gawain, and the owner, the Green Knight. The Lord is also testing and playing with Gawain from just about the very beginning, where he says that Gawain must give him the same that he receives. And this mimics the Christmas game that set Gawain on his initial journey. The blow received will be given in return. Gawain doesn't recognize this though. In the final part of the journey, the fox tries to spare Gawain from his certain death, and this again is another test of honor. Gawain can just turn back and tell Arthur and the rest of the court that he made the journey, met the Green Knight, and was free to return home. Gawain resists his temptation. He's become braver and honorable by choosing to go to the chapel and meet his fate. And this last struggle is so powerful. As Gawain flinches and ducks away from the Green Knight as he raises the axe, we get to see the cowardice, the desire of life above anything else. There's no honor or chivalry that can compete with being alive. And as we watch Gawain escape and ride back to his home, we watch the events unfold of a dishonorable man. We see him lie to Arthur and then unrightfully become the king. Essel is pregnant and he tosses her aside, but takes their son after he's born. Gawain then takes a noble bride to be his queen. The dishonor follows him as he becomes old and unhappy. His son dies in a battle, and finally the marauders come to ransack the castle. Gawain is alone as everyone has fled, and there aren't any fellow knights around him in the end. When he finally removes his belt, which he's never taken off until this point since leaving the Green Knight, his head finally falls. Gawain has died alone and in the dark. We then realize that this is a vision of what's to come if Gawain doesn't act with honor. If he runs, this is indeed going to be his future. And as afraid as he is to die, Gawain's next action is what makes him a knight. He's trembling and afraid, but he asks the Green Knight to wait, and then he removes his belt. The talisman that has been protecting him is no longer able to hold power, and Gawain displays true honor in this moment. He knows death is certain, and he embraces it. He bows his head, and as he does so, the Green Knight takes the thumb and runs it across Gawain's neck. That is the only blow that the Green Knight delivers. Gawain is spared from death because he finally has attained honor. By facing death heroically and willingly, he has shown that he has the true quality of a knight. His journey with all its trials and challenges has been worth it, and it has resulted in a changed man. Gawain's return and life from that moment on are a mystery as they're not shown, but we do know that no matter what challenges he might face, he now truly possesses the honor worthy of a knight. And this story can also be seen as a story of a mother's love. Gawain's mother and her witch friends conjure up the Green Knight, which starts Gawain on his quest. She also gives him the belt of protection to ensure he returns to her. She sees the potential in her son, but she also sees his shortcomings. So in order to help him attain the greatness she sees within him, the Green Knight, the game, the journey, and all of the challenges are all her doing. So I hope this helped you better understand the film, and I really hope that it helped to maybe up your appreciation for the story. This massive showing of character growth is what really resonated with me and made me love what I watched. I also fully acknowledge that you might have come to the end of this and still hate the movie. Fair enough. I can totally respect that because that's the beauty of cinema. Some stories resonate with us, others don't. I'd love to know what you thought of my analysis in the comments below. What did I get right? More importantly, what did I get wrong? I love learning from your interpretations also. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.